Hello YouTube, it's your boy GZTV back with another video, and in this video we are going to be talking about the new Danny Brown album that just came out last Friday, Quaranta. Danny Brown is now over 40, and man, it's crazy. We have two Danny Brown projects in 1 year. He obviously came out with Scaring the Hoes with JPEG Mafia earlier in the year. That was a big success. That was an amazing record. Man, I mean, grinding late in your career is always respectable. We've seen a couple artists do that. It's so dope. I mean, just album after album. And this is a huge deal. This is his first solo work in 4 years. And this record signals his independence from other labels, so it is kind of a big deal. Like, this is a big release for Danny Brown. I'm not sure how many more albums he's dropping in his career. Obviously, he was kind of a late bloomer. Not dropping music till he was pretty much like 30 or like late 20s, or mainstream music anyway, music that people listen to. But yeah, we're just going to go track by track, and then I'm going to give you guys a general review on how I thought of the album. Let's go. Track 1 is Quaranta. It's the title track. He opens the album with it. It's a very touching song. You get some Western guitars, some dope drums, solid flows. It's a pretty cool, simple track. I don't really have much to say about it. I mean, there's a couple tracks on this album that I'm not going to have a whole lot to say because it's Danny Brown. I mean, we kind of get the gist about him at this point. We know what kind of music he makes. He definitely experiments all the time, and it works pretty much every album. So, yeah, it's a pretty simple song here, especially compared to his other work, Track 2 is Tantor, and this started as a Twitter snippet. There's all sorts of tracks on this project that were originally leaked and stuff. Again, this album is pretty much 4 years in the making. Well, at least 2 years in the making, because he turned 40 in 2021. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of shit that surfaced about this album, a lot of singles, a lot of things that people were getting hyped for, and we finally get the tracks, which is cool. The Alchemist produced this, which is funny. It's a little funny parallel, because if you guys saw my Drake review, you would see that The Alchemist produced one of his tracks on his deluxe. Tantor is the band the sample came from. That is why the song is called Tantor. Really cool, like, homage. There's a lot of cultural references here. Danny Brown knows what's up. He knows his music. He knows his pop culture. He's a really well-informed man. I mean, we've seen interviews with him and JPEG Mafia, and them talking about how they're always on the internet, and they show it every time with their albums. This song sounds like some Doom shit. It's a really good song. Like, the whole loop at the bam sounds like some Mad Villainy stuff. It is really cool. So yeah. Track 3 is Ain't My Concern. This is kind of a track of him talking about the current state of rap. It's a bit corny, he's 40, he's kind of like an old head talking about the young generation. I'm not really a huge fan of when old rappers do that, like, oh, what's this new shit, it's fucking garbage. Like, it's still making money, it's still making streams, people like it, you have to adjust for the generation. I mean, with all that being said, though, there's obviously a lot of distaste on this track. He is not a huge fan of these new, like, industry rappers. He kind of states that independence is way more respectable than piggybacking on the success of others. This is a really trendy era of music. People just hop on what other people do. There's been a lot of trends over the years, like remixing your song 20 fucking times, like DDG, for example. I don't know. I like when his voice isn't so high-pitched, too, and it kind of shows on this track, and that's a really prevalent thing with the album. It makes for really chill tracks, and like, the average audience that can't understand him can actually hear him. I feel like this is an album that he wanted a lot of people to hear, so it's really cool. Really crazy bars on here, some quite out-of-pocket stuff on this record, and are we surprised? It's Danny Brown. I mean, the guy is completely no filter. The next track is Dark Sword Angel. This is probably one of my favorites on the record. It's supposed to be a sequel of a song off 30. I think it was Monopoly. It was originally called Monopoly 2, but now it's just Dark Sword Angel. It's a very fun track. It's got good wordplay, hilarious bars. There's like this Griselda-like loop. I think he took it from West Side Gun, actually, which is funny. It's an awesome track. It's another really good track. He goes on a decent amount of runs on this album, and he just keeps up the momentum. I mean, if you want my overall review of this album, which obviously we can wait till the end of the video, but it's a really solid record. I actually really like this album. I'm going to need to re-listen to Dark Sword Angel a little more. Some of the bars were insane, and I feel like they're a little subliminal. You kind of have to break them down to understand them. This is just the definition of an ill track. The beat is amazing. The bars are great. Shout out to Danny Brown. This is an amazing song. Next track we have is YBP. It stands for Young, Black, and Poor, and you can kind of assume kind of the subject matter that is going to be contained in this record. He's got a Bruiser Brigade, fuck, I cannot say that word, Bruiser Brigade brother on this track with Bruiser Wolf, I think his name is, which is cool. Triple B, man. Bruiser Brigade brother. I feel like Danny Brown should use that. If you're seeing this video, please use it. This track was previewed before. This is kind of a song reminiscing on their childhood, talking about like childhood love and like falling in love with a girl and kind of bonding over it. Yeah, there's this E40-esque delivery from Bruiser Wolf. He really is like E40. It's so identical. He's obviously better than E40. If you saw my weekly track roundup, you know that I do not fuck with E40. I don't know. His flows are kind of annoying. Wolf has this really, really dope delivery with it, and it's so cool. It's such a smooth way to rap. It's a cool track, man. Jen's Terrific Vacation is a big highlight on this album. This is great. I mean, this was supposedly like a single. This is something he dropped on Instagram. This and Tantor were both singles for the album. Singles. I don't think he actually dropped it. Maybe he did drop it like on Apple Music or something. I don't know. It's a very interesting conceptual track on how rich white people improve poor areas and in turn force out the low income and non-white population. It's interesting. We don't see rappers really do this stuff anymore. This is kind of like a Kendrick Lamar type of concept. And this track really represents gentrification. You boost up the rent, you get all the low income, most likely minorities out of the area. And yeah, it creates systemic racism, and it's obviously a big problem in our society. The music video was definitely needed for this song. There were some interesting visuals to kind of portray the message and to explain the track really well. It's a highlight on this album, and possibly his career. This is a really big track for him. It's catchy, it's a good concept, and anytime you get that mix of really not arty, like creative, out of the box, and you get like, oh, it's actually kind of a catchy, good sounding track, where can you go wrong? Down With It is the next track. It's a very spacious track. It has this like Atrocity Exhibition vibe, which is probably his best album, which is great. And it's actually a very sad song. It's honest. There's a lot of stories to be told here, about cheating and how he regrets things and how he's reflecting on his life. It's a very depressing song. You gotta respect the passion. It's a wonderful musical achievement for him. He has all sorts of musical achievements on this album. There's some really good moments. This is the most expressive I have ever heard Danny Brown on an album, which is crazy because he does have a lot of emotional records, but this one, like, wow. Jeez. There's a Ghetto Boys interpolation, which is cool. The beat is awesome. I'm really a big fan of this record, and obviously this album as well. Celibate sees Danny Brown collabing with longtime, Earl Sweatshirt clone. I don't like comparing people to other artists, but it's Mike. He sounds just like Earl Sweatshirt. It is so dope. This is a really cool collab for Danny. They kind of work in the same space. Lots of snippets, previews, yada 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 that came with this song. There's a really cool sample on here. Amazing. It's not I don't know. I don't think it's an amazing track, but it's still actually like pretty solid. There's not really much to say about it though. Shakedown sees Z Loopers work with Danny Brown. Again, another artist that's kind of a part of like the Earl Sweatshirt camp and like that whole experimental realm of rap. There's an appearance here with them doing the background vocals, of course. Yeah, there's not much to say about this song. It's pretty good. Again, kind of going down the stretch, we get all we need out of this album. You only need a couple of tracks and you're just moved. You're just touched by the message that Danny Brown has to offer here. Hanami is another one of those pretty simple songs. It's talking about mortality, alcohol abuse, kind of reflecting on his rap career. Topics that are pretty prevalent throughout the album. This is pretty much, this is like a sequel to 30, and it's him like kind of displaying everything that's happened in the last 10 years, because man, a lot of things can happen in 10 years to a human being, especially when you're a rapper, especially when you're famous and you're going around and people won't leave you the hell alone, and all that stuff. Bass Jam to close out the record is actually a phenomenal song. It's an interesting concept about how his mother used to play his older music throughout his childhood, and the memories he made listening to that music, and it's awesome, man. It's such a wholesome moment. It's interesting. I really like that Danny told this story. A lot of his biggest musical influencer, a lot of his biggest musical influences are present here and are referenced. God, I need to slow down sometimes when I'm talking. But yeah, this is amazing. It's super emotional. It's like, play that back again. That was good. You know, his mom's kind of telling him his early music was good, and like how, you know, he maybe had a really good relationship with his mother. Obviously, he was in a broken home. He grew up in Detroit. But him and his mother always had that good relationship, it sounds like, and she always had hope of him becoming a good rapper, which is awesome. You always want your parents' support in anything that you do. Obviously, Danny had to go through a lot to be here and to be this rapper, this touted upon, or this looked up upon rapper. But yeah, let's get into the general review of things. So getting into the overall review, you know we always do this at the end of any album review. He's gone through so much since the release of 30, and it's interesting that he's displaying it on this record. This is pretty much like a documentary about everything that Danny has had to go through over the last 10 years, and 10 plus, because I mean, it's been 12 years since 30 came out. Yeah, I mean, the inspiration behind the cover with the whole like Michael Jackson thing and like the Five Nights at Freddy's, the rollout for this album was definitely pretty interesting. It was funny too, you know, Danny Brown always likes to have a good time, likes to get a good laugh. Some really good stuff though. You gotta love this music out of Danny. The only thing I will say is not getting any major features. Obviously, Mike is a pretty big artist. You get Z Loopers. That's all fine and dandy. You get a Bruiser Brigade member. But, like, could we get, like, an Earl Sweatshirt or, like, maybe even a Redville or, like, a JPEG Mafia? I know they worked together on the album earlier this year, but, yeah, I mean, I guess it is such a personal record that he didn't want anyone kind of vandalizing it in any way with weak features. I don't know. I am really impressed by this record, though. Like, even for Danny Brown standards, I think this is great. It's on the upper echelon for him. I think it's up there, so... Yeah, I love his super chill voice. He's been using, the vibe is switched so musically. It's amazing. He started from talking reckless to actually having some super introspective thoughts and stories to tell. It's just the maturity. It's just the maturity of a rapper. It is what it is. It's not really a miss. I mean, from Danny. Yeah, I don't think he really missed on this album. I don't have too much to say. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I think Danny Brown delivered a really good album here, you know? I'm not going to edit this video too much because I have other shit to do, but just know, Danny, this is amazing. It's not like I don't care and it's like, oh, I just have to get the video done or whatever. But, yeah, have a good rest of your day, guys. I'm out. Peace.